Morning. You might think it's a bit crazy sitting outside in this weather doing a faith moment, but the light inside the house is so bad that I needed to come outside. And anyhow, this week is quite a serious faith moment. A month ago, something happened to our youngest son that quite shook me, and I haven't been able to get my head around it for a month. When you fall out with the Lord over something, when something happens that you don't expect to happen, then you have this serious period of separation until you figure it out. What am I talking about? Well, it doesn't matter to me what happens to me. I sort of accept it, it's fine. But when you see it happen to a member of your family, particularly children, even they're older, it upsets you. My son has been training for Muay Thai boxing for years, and for some strange reason he wanted to have a fight, actually go into one of these fights. And apparently there was 500 people who were watching all this, and he thought he'd be fine. And when I was down in London, I was doing jog training with him, doing some runs, and I got into it as well. And I was praying for him, that because he, for some ridiculous reason, he was matched against somebody much bigger than himself. And I was praying the Goliath prayer, David, because he's called David and Goliath. And within 30 seconds, this bloke had stopped doing Muay Thai and just started doing boxing. And he landed a punch that knocked David out completely. There was no paramedic help afterwards. No one could care less. It was one of those ridiculous things that really upsets you. Why are you taking part in this? Why are you doing this sort of thing? But more important, why should the Lord allow this to happen in my family when I'm praying for security of my family continually? And after a while, I started settling down and asking the Lord why this had happened. And he said, really, after a bit, it just the cloud, not saying, but the clouds just sort of cleared, the mist cleared over it. And he was saying, you were praying a David and Goliath prayer, which meant you were asking David to do the same to this bloke as happened to him for you. And that was the wrong prayer. And the word then that came to mind completely was the word trust. And that's where I want to get serious. You see, I've done, 150 of these faith moments now. And it gets subtle. You think of faith, you think of belief, right? I pray for protection, use Psalm 91 or whatever, and you put your family in the hands of the Lord, you hand your anxieties over, and you believe. But there's another simple thing which I had really missed, that along with all this goes the word trust. And I've started focusing on this, and it's opened up a new area of life to me, even after all these years, the word trust. Of course, I know so well Proverbs 3 verses 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will make straight your paths. You say all these things, but really trust hasn't got deep enough into me. And then that Psalm 37, commit your way to the Lord and he will act. But before that, it says in the third verse, trust in the Lord and do good. Do good. Don't do bad things. Don't think of bad things. Don't do things to other people. Turn your prayer around and put your trust around. And then Psalm 91 becomes a declaration. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, in God, I put my trust in you. And just leave it at that. And then I always remember Isaiah 26. I used to use that at work years ago. Those who have a steadfast mind, you keep in peace. In peace because they trust in you. And then, ridiculous, isn't it? How often do I give blessings after a communion service? May the God of hope fill you in all joy in believing. And then it goes on, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. But in some versions of the Bible, it says it slightly differently. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him. Now, I can't even give a blessing, can I, unless I believe it. If I'm not trusting in him properly, how can I bless other people's with that? It's really been an eye-opener for me this week. I have to get down to really understanding trust, believing for trust, and then acting on trust. Next week will be my last one this year, until the new year. So God bless.